Morning, guys. Did a video a few days ago about the war in Ukraine, specifically how men should not be forced to fight and die for a country that doesn't support them. Well, I found a couple of articles that are so ironic that I had to share them with you. So let's check it out. The first one's from Gossip. It says, "Stay and fight. You are men. Ukraine law to transgender women. A new law by the Ukrainian government has prevented transgender women from leaving the country in the midst of the Russian invasion." Now, you see the picture up there. You can imagine the conversation. It's, ma'am, we're sorry we have some bad news for you, but it says here on your ID that you're a man. So you have to stay and fight. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, can you imagine this guy with a AK-47? What's he going to do? The next one is trans and non-binary people trapped in war-torn Ukraine. The rule forcing men age 18 to 60 to stay and fight has left many trans women and non-binary people stranded in the country. Already we're fighting for our lives, and now we're actually in war, one of them said. She knows that under a Russian occupation, life could deteriorate quickly for LGBTQ people like her. Vice News reports that trans people in Ukraine are totally stuck and scared for their lives in the country. Two other Ukrainian trans women who spoke to Vice said they can't leave Ukraine or even safely travel through it because all of their identification documents say male and mention their old masculine name. Now, this is so ironic. I mean, you have an openly gay president who was celebrated when he took office. Now he's telling transgender men that they have to stay in the country and fight because they're men. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Don't get me wrong. I believe any man, confused or not, should have the right to object to mandatory service. This next one says, a Ukrainian transgender caught hiding in female dress trying to escape the border. And it says the last sentence, authorities identified him as a man, hence he has to stay and defend Ukraine. Scores of transgender women who reportedly fled the country to neighboring countries as Russia intensifies its attack on Ukraine. But conscription law prevents men from leaving as they have been asked to take up arms and fight, including trans women who are technically seen as men. One of the trans women is not happy about the development, and she is even planning to escape to Poland illegally, as other trans women have done, according to reports by Los Angeles Times. Now, this gender-challenged man is terrified for his life under Russian rule because these communists don't play this transgender shit. So you have two choices. You either run away like the woman you're pretending to be, or you can stand up and fight for your freedom. Either way, your survival as you know it is hanging by a thread. Meanwhile, other trans people have even been advised to lose their ID by human rights groups in order to get out of Ukraine. Trans campaigners estimate the issue is leading to hundreds of trans people in Ukraine being left in serious danger and feeling completely alone. Now I feel for these people. This is exactly why, as a man, you should stay prepared, physically and mentally, for whatever trouble may come. However, there's a larger problem here. The Ukrainian government is accusing Russia of humanitarian atrocities, while at the same time, they're committing war crimes against their own citizens. This next article is from The Conversation. It says, why banning men from leaving Ukraine violates their human rights. With their country facing armed attack by a major military power with the aim of overthrowing the government, some Ukrainians have felt compelled to stay and potentially fight. That says those who are enlisted are called conscripts and volunteers. The third paragraph says, others have felt compelled to leave. The very nature of conflict puts civilians at risk. It is playing out in densely populated cities through shelling and aerial bombardment. Already more than 1 million people have fled. However, for men aged 18 to 60, the ban on leaving Ukraine means they have no choice to flee the attack and the risk they face as civilians in the center of the war. Now, They're forcing men to stay in the very cities that are being shelled. And these aren't soldiers, these are teachers, cooks, and construction workers. It's unconscionable. Unconscionable. Now it says, down here it says, but if you're a man 18 to 60, the call to arms may seem more like a compulsory requirement. As Ukraine's border guard service explains, the ban on adult men leaving is aimed at teeing Ukraine's defense and the organization of timely mobilization. Given the illegality of Russia's invasion, Ukraine is entitled to defend itself under the nation's charter. Of course, a country will rely on an available military resource to exercise the right of self-defense. Ukraine already has a sizable army with 200,000 active personnel and 300,000 reservists, as well as a paramilitary forces who are now being mobilized under the General Mobilization Decree. Now, over a 500,000 man army, and you want common citizens to act as human shields. Why? So you can gain pity and support from around the globe? So when the cities are bombed, you can cry war crimes? Come on, man. What does international law say? The International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights guarantees freedom of thought, conscience, and religion or belief. Although it does not specifically guarantee a right to conscientious objection to the military service, the UN Human Rights Committee has confirmed the right derives from protection under the convention. So the UN, who's been trying to move into Ukraine for a while now, and is arguably one of the reasons why Russia invaded, they've confirmed that the right to conscientious objection is derived by their own covenants. I mean, they don't even try to hide the hypocrisy anymore. Now, I know it's a touchy subject, and I don't claim to be an expert on any of this, but I'm a tax-paying, business-owning father who has a vested interest in the future of this country. And from what I see, Ukraine is falling victim to failed leadership. Now, this should serve as a wake-up call to us all. If we don't change the direction our government is heading, we may suffer a similar demise. Now, this is just my opinion. I hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.